are so many names that we tend to forget some. The police brutality and the violence has been so damaging that there are so many families that are still bleeding, that are still hurting, that are still crying, and for the last 4 years still going to court and still fighting the justice system. But officers, they know we're wrong, but they don't want to fess up to it. And so I want to just have this moment for my cousin, Doretha. This is Christopher Davis's mom, just for her to speak and give you guys the story. Because how many of y'all know sometimes, like, when you hear from the mother, you hear the pain that they've had to live through from bearing a child. And it's not natural. It's out of God's alignment. No parent should have to bury a child. And so that's why it's so hard to deal with it, because none of you expect it. And for those of you guys who have children like I do, I could never imagine having to bury my child. My dream was always me growing old and them living on my legacy and living on what I've established and put in the earth. So, cuz, you can go ahead and speak to them.
As a young mother, and I am young.
That's good, yeah.
Speak it into existence.
Too popular. Bearing her child before his 22nd birthday, 2 weeks before his 22nd birthday, is not always, it's not easy. And for him just being the kind-hearted person he was, giving 2 people a ride to pick up a car, and being the only black person in that car. And just because the color of his skin would cause hatred or anything else. I don't know what his reasons were. I couldn't tell you. But he was a passenger in his own car, giving 2 people a ride to pick up a new car. And for whatever reason, he drove them somewhere else. And that the police opened fire running to the car, to open fire into a car. And my son was the passenger, the only one fired into the left side, into his left temple. I don't know how it could bypass the driver. I couldn't tell you that. I don't know how it could bypass not hitting nowhere else but him. Not only that, going through the driver's side window. Go figure. So all of it is always skeptical. It's always something, it's a story untold. But just saying, as a mother, it's a lot more to that story we all don't know. But I am very proud to see all of you out here helping and loving and saying his name. And knowing that you all saying his name out loud, that everyone can hear you. And that my family is standing with you, and that I see some familiar, some people that I don't know, but I will remember your face. I may not know your name, but I hope that I remember each one of your faces, and that you would never have to experience nothing that I went through, nothing that I have experienced. But knowing that the love that you're sharing and that you're marching for will be carried on, that somebody else, some other mother might feel the same thing that they're going through. They may feel this type of love, and that they'll know that there are people that are praying with them, that are standing beside them, and that are holding them up just like you are holding me up. So thank you again.
We don't like speaking in front of people, but it has been a pleasure to walk with you guys. Even being 8 months pregnant, I just love and appreciate everyone. It's been a long time for us to get his name out there, and honestly, in the moments after it happened, most of us were paralyzed in our own grief. So forgive us for not speaking it out first and not being out there as much. But we do appreciate all the love thank you for coming out. Thank you for supporting us. I don't know what else to say, but I'm very grateful.
Older brother of Chris, once just to piggyback off my sister saying, we appreciate everyone that came out. For me, it's a little different, because actually I wasn't in the city at the time. I was actually out of town, so just to really get a phone call, a devastating phone call like that, especially being gone, especially being the oldest male of the family, you have that sort of just a protector mentality. So for me to be, out of state and to really feel hopeless, you say hopeless at the time, because I really couldn't do, as much as I wanted to, as much as I felt like I could at the time. So like she said, like in the moment, it was very difficult for everybody, and rest in peace to all the victims of police brutality, and George Floyd just happened to be, I would say, the straw that broke the camel's back. That was the last straw for not only the people there, but the people around the world that are tired of seeing young men, young black men, African Americans, period, young women, are getting killed in their sleep. Young men are getting killed running away from police officers. Young men are getting killed, in their cars sleep. These are senseless and crimes that are done without thought. And for a person to be able to say, oh, I fear for my life when there's no apparent threat. It's one thing to be in an altercation and to fight and I would say and somewhat resist and I wouldn't even call it a mistake, but something like that to happen. But for it to be unjust, for it to be senseless, I'm pretty sure. I'm not even pretty sure. I am sure that everyone is tired of seeing it. Even if it is not your brother, it could be a cousin. It can be an extended family, a friend. No one wants to hear or even really wants to even sue somebody that has to deal with a pain like that, because it's unnatural. So once again, I thank everybody for being out here. The familiar faces, once again, unfamiliar faces, we appreciate it. And now it's time for us as a people, to come together. And this is what really amazes me about the city of Milwaukee, because at times like this, they would say that, the city won't come together, that we'll fall apart, but it's unity here. There's always been unity here. So it's time for us, even if it is just us here, we got to do what we got to do to make all these names heard, to make sure that these names are not forgotten, but when they're spoken, that they're spoken with truth and with passion behind it, because it's not just one family. It's when you say those names, it's everyone affected. So once again, I appreciate y'all. We thank you. We love you, and I wish the best for everybody. And let's keep doing this. Like everybody, let's stay united, because a united front is the strongest. Is the strongest thing ever. So we're only as weak as our weakest. We're only as strong as our weakest link. But even those weak links, like together, it's gonna be strong. You can't break a chain that's linked together. So let's stay together, everybody. Appreciate it.
And so when you're losing somebody like that, it's so difficult, and there's so many families, and we're out here marching. I know that we said some of the names of those who have died in other states, but I just wanted to solemnly remind you guys, and there's people right next to you dying to police brutality and violence. And the worst thing about it is what happens when the police get to control the narrative. Yeah. When they are the only ones alive to tell the story. Yeah. Well, you can kill somebody and say it was a drug bust and you didn't find any drugs. Right. There were no drugs. Wow. How is it a drug bust when there are absolutely no drugs? How is it that the only person that died in the drug bust was the black child? Right. And how is it that you randomly shot the black child through the temple of his head? Right. With no gun, with no weapon? At some point, we got to realize what's happening, that it's systemic, And it's been going for a long time. And yeah, it's good for us to read the history, what happened in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. But my God, my people, my brothers and sisters, it's happening today. Yeah. It's happening right now. And I just believe that we are the ones with the generation. It's our generation is going to stand up and say, you know, we're not taking it anymore. This is the absolute last time we are going to be silent while seeing our brothers and sisters die at the hands of people who are intimidated by us because of the color of our skin.
This story has a little bit more details in it. This has been one of the most powerful effed up stories that I've learned through all of this. So, Christopher Davis loved helping people and giving love to everyone. He was a fun and goofy young man loved by many. He was an avid wrestler throughout high school, extremely intelligent, spent a lot of time focused on bettering himself on a daily basis. 21-year-old Christopher Davis was spending his day in what he believed was helping others. His girlfriend's cousin had reached out and wanted to borrow his car. As Christopher sat passenger in his own vehicle, cops down the street were planning a drug bust with the help of a confidential informant. Using unprocessed information from the informant, the police planned to use the informant to buy drugs and make a case. This informant, who was trying to lessen his own charges, told police there was someone in a car very similar to Christopher's who was selling drugs. One policeman said the briefing before the bust lasted only 30 seconds. The other one claimed it was less than 2 minutes. One of the responding officers, Officer Schmidt, did not believe the arrest plan was a good idea, as neither he nor Officer Knox were in uniform or had body armor. The information that the police had was not enough to effectuate an arrest. Because of the lack of an adequate plan, serious bodily injury to an individual could take place. And then it did. Officer Juan Ortiz was supposed to be a backup officer, but because of a mix-up on the drive there, he was the first to arrive. Jose Lara, who was in the driver's seat of Davis's car, got spooked when he saw the firearms drawn upon their vehicle and started to drive away. Officer Juan Ortiz fired rounds into the moving vehicle without warning, one of which was the bullet that killed Christopher. No drugs were ever found in the car. During the investigation, they found the SD cards from all the police dash cams had been removed. Not only did the district attorney clear Officer Juan Ortiz of any wrongdoing, but he even got promoted to detective with the sheriff's office. Walworth County never gave Christopher a chance, guilty of being black, with murder as the punishment. Skin color is not probable cause. The family has filed a federal lawsuit against the town of East Troy, the county, the sheriff, and the East Troy respective police chiefs and the other officers involved. Ortiz's use of deadly force was not justified. He didn't even know who was in the vehicle. The lawsuit also charges several of the officers with failure to intervene and pull the plug on what they all knew was an inadequate plan for the drug arrest. Unfortunately, the family still has not received justice. The next court date will be held in late September this year, more than 4 years after Christopher's death. Christopher's mother still has to wait in agony. Without any form of closure, it is entirely impossible for her to grieve the loss of her child. His siblings have to grow up in a world where they fear for their own children's lives because of the trauma the death of their brother has inflicted upon their future. Why did this even have to be a life or death situation? Who keeps getting to decide that? When will our voices be heard? When will my family right here be able to feel safe? When will they not have to fear raising their children in Milwaukee, in this country, in this world? When will this country actually understand what liberty and justice for all means? Today, we're all here to take a moment in time to honor the Davis family. to give them the chance they didn't have to speak about his life and to mourn his tragic passing. Some of the many victims of police brutality are marched for often, righteously so. But what many do not realize is that way too many are unknown. It takes a lot of strength and courage to carry your voice and story, or the story of a loved one who was so unexpectedly taken from you. And if you live in a world where silence is the easiest answer for too many, it becomes impossible to fight for justice alone. Today we are letting the Davis family know that we stand with them. We are here for you, and we will continue to fight for justice for Christopher and all other victims of senseless police brutality.
Christopher Davis! What is his name? Christopher Davis! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Chris Life Matters! Chris Life Matters! Come on,
Take it to the streets to fund the police.
no justice, no peace.
A little louder now. Take it to the streets to fund the
No
police.
justice, no peace.
I said, take it to the streets to fund the
No
police.
justice, no peace.
Hey, no justice.
No peace.
No racist.
Police.
I said no racist.
Police.
No justice.
No peace.
Hey, no justice.
No peace.
Get it, baby. No justice.
No peace.
Yeah, we gotta take it to the streets. We demoted the cheese.
No justice, no peace.
You gotta take it to the streets. We demoted the
No
cheese.
justice, no peace.
Show me what democracy look like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy look like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what democracy look like.
This is what democracy looks like.
What's his name? Christopher Davis. Say his name. Christopher Davis. What's his name? Christopher Davis. Say his name. Christopher Davis. What's his name? Christopher Davis. Say his name. Christopher Davis. What's his name?
Christopher Davis.
Say his name.
Christopher Davis.
What's